In the village of Obudu lived a young woman named Eno. She was the only daughter of her parents, who were wealthy and well known in the village. Eno was well loved by her parents, who had great plans for her. And one of such plans was for her to get married to one of their friends' son. But unknown to them, Eno had been secretly going out with a man named Umo, who was far below her in wealth and status. Umo was a poor vulcanizer who barely made enough for himself. Their meeting had been accidental. Eno was driving along the path when she realized that she had a flat tire. She was confused and helpless at that point because even though she had a spare tire with her, she had no idea how to fix it. As she stood there thinking of what to do, Umo came passing by and offered to help. Eno immediately accepted the help, and in less than 5 minutes, Umo had changed the flat tire. He then offered to go with the bad tire to his stand to fix it. And Eno was amazed at how a total stranger would want to help her so selflessly. And so, she decided to drive him to his stand so that she could know where to meet him to appreciate him better next time. They got to Umo's vulcanizing stand and he quickly fixed the bad tire. He gave it back to Eno without asking for a payment. This made Eno even more amazed, and she took a particular interest in this good Samaritan. She thanked him and left, but deep down, she knew that she was going to have to see him again. Days later, she went to Umo's stand to pay him a visit. Umo was surprised to see her and came out to greet her. "Good morning, ma'am. I wasn't expecting to see you. Is there something you want me to do for you?" Eno smiled and told him that she just came to express her gratitude once again for his selfless service to her. She sat with him and started to ask him questions about himself. Umo was surprised that such a rich lady would be interested in him, but he answered all her questions. Even though Umo had no educational qualification, he spoke really well, and Eno was impressed. She took a liking for him and would visit him always. They soon became really good friends, and as they spent time with each other, they fell in love. At first, Umo was worried that Eno would not be comfortable with him because of his status, but she proved him wrong with her words and actions. Eno would always tell him that she was not one to be carried away by a man's wealth, such that she would pay a blind eye to the most important thing, which was the heart of a man. She had seen that he had a good heart, and that was why she was drawn to him. Eno had not yet told her parents about Umo though, as she was still looking for the perfect opportunity to do so. And then, one day, her father called her and told him that he would like her to get to meet one of his friend's sons and possibly get married to him. Eno was shocked, but then she decided to tell her father about Umo. "Father, I have already seen someone I want to marry. I am very convinced about him, and if you permit me, I would bring him for you to meet." Her father was caught off track. He had never suspected that his daughter was seeing a man, not to talk of wanting to marry him already. He then asked, "Who is this young man, and what does he do?" Eno smiled and told her father, "His name is Umo, and he owns a vulcanizing shop. He is a really good man with great potential too." Eno's father shook his head and asked her, "So with all the upbringing and investment we have made in you, it is a vulcanizer you want to end up with? So because a man is humble in his poor state, you think he will be that humble if you enrich him? Eno, I have seen this life more than you, and I can assure you that there are some men that cannot be trusted. And from the description of this your perfect vulcanizer, I can boldly tell you that he cannot be trusted. I don't need to see him because I will not approve of him. Her father said to her bluntly. Enoch was disappointed in him and tried to convince him, but his mind was made up, and he gave her no chance at all. Enoch was disappointed, as she did not understand why her father would rule off a man he had never met. She was deeply in love with Umo and would not marry anyone apart from him. She decided to talk to her mother to help her convince her father about Umo. But unfortunately, her mother too was on her father's side and disapproved of Umo without even meeting him. It was then that Enoch knew that she was on her own in this, but she believed that she would conquer because most great love stories point to the fact that true love had to pass through trials and rejections before it would finally stand. She was determined to fight for her love, and when she told Umo about her parents' disapproval, he was scared also and tried to persuade Enoch to listen to her parents, but Enoch refused and reassured him that she would stick with him. As earlier planned, Enoch was informed by her father to get ready to meet his friend's son that evening, but Enoch refused, saying that she would never go out with any man apart from Umo. Seeing that her parents were hell-bent on connecting her with another man, Enoch met with Umo and told him to come pay her bride price. She believed that when Umo showed seriousness, they would have no choice than to accept him. Even though Umo had no money for that yet, he saw reasons with Enoch and decided to save up money to that effect. When Enoch told her parents about Umo coming to pay her bride price, they were really upset, and her father warned her, "We have tried to lead you right, but you insist on going to taste hell. We cannot tie a rope to your neck and force you to marry who we know is good for you. But just know that if you go on to marry that vulcanizer, you will no longer have a place in this house. On no account should you return to this house, and you will also lose all access to your inheritance. You still have the opportunity to have everything now before it is too late." Her father warned, but Enoch was so drunk with love that she speedily gave up everything and stuck with Umo. Umo got some money and went to pay Enoch's bride price as promised, and her parents cut her off from their lives and withdrew her access to all her privileges. Enoch was not bothered anyway, as she was satisfied with having Umo. They would build together and become successful as long as they worked together. Fortunately, she had taken some money with her before her father cut her off. Umo was aware of the battles Enoch had to fight because of him, and his heart melted more for her. "My love, I really do not know what I did to deserve you. The way you choose to stand by me, in spite of all the objections. Sometimes, I wish there had been another way without having to go through all these trials. You have shown me true love and support, and I make this vow to you today to always love you, cherish you, and place you and only you above everything." Enoch was blown away. She knew she had made the right choice and was even more convinced about it now. "Umo, you don't need to worry about what people think of you. I know you in a way that they don't, so I don't even blame them for behaving hostile towards you. I love you, and that is all that matters. I believe we will grow to become very comfortable, and I will stand with you all through the process. I have some money, and I want us to leave this village and start up a new life, and also set up a business. Gradually from there, I believe we will grow if we work hard together." Umo was lost for words. The only word that rang in his head was blessing. Enoch was a blessing to him, a blessing that he constantly asked himself what he did to deserve. Umo and Enoch started to make plans to move to another city. and they decided to go to Ikot, a very beautiful city with lots of opportunities. They were able to rent a small apartment with the money. Uma went out and did so many odd jobs to be able to get money, while Eno started to send out applications to several companies, and after several applications, she got a good job. The pay was good, and so she became the primary breadwinner. She also stopped Umo from doing some of his menial jobs and started to save money towards opening a good business for him. 9 months later, Eno had saved up enough money, and she called Umo that evening to inform him about the developments. Here is the money I have been saving up for months now. I want you to use it to set up a business. Let's start from here first. I'll still continue saving more money to add to the business, Eno said while giving Umo the huge sum of money. Umo couldn't believe his eyes. Eno, is this real? Oh, you are indeed a blessing to me. You are blessed among all women. Thank you so much. I will never disappoint you. I will invest this money in a very good business. I want to be able to give you the life you deserve. You have sacrificed a lot for me. You have done more than I even imagined. Eno, you will forever be in my heart. Nothing and no one will take your place. I promise you that, Umo said emotionally. Eno was happy to see Umo happy. My husband, I will do anything for you. I can sacrifice my life for you because you are my life. Nothing else matters when it has to do with you. I just want us to succeed together and live our lives to the fullest. We won't have any regrets whatsoever because we are already winning and we will continue to win. Eno was greatly pleased. She knew that if she and Umo continued this way, in no time they will become wealthy and she will prove her father wrong. She was fully aware that he was waiting for her to fail and return home begging, but that would never happen because she would ensure that her marriage with Umo was successful and productive, even if it meant her giving her blood. Umo did an extensive market survey and decided to go into electronic business. He got a very good location and in a couple of weeks, everything was set. He employed an experienced sales boy to assist him with sales, and it didn't take long before sales kicked in. The business did beyond expectations and flourished, and in a matter of 6 months, the business had already yielded triple of the money used to start it. Umo and Eno were really happy about this development. Life was going on well for them, and all their plans were coming out well. Subsequently, they received another blessing as Eno found out that she was pregnant. The young couple were pleased with this news and looked forward to becoming parents. However, the pregnancy came with an unexpected twist. Eno, who was once lively and energetic, became the opposite of herself. In the earliest weeks of the pregnancy, she would sleep and wake up by past 10 a.m. or even later. And even when she woke up by that time, she would still be very tired and find it difficult to get out of bed. She began to miss work because of this and had to apply for a 1-month leave with the hope that after a while, she would get a hang of the pregnancy symptoms and be able to work with it. But it didn't get any better as several other symptoms started to spring up. Eno lost her appetite and would always throw up. Umo was really worried and did not know what to make of all this. He took her to the hospital and she was admitted. But as soon as she got a bit better, she was discharged. However, the moment she got back home, the symptoms would return again. And that was how Eno continued to be in and out of the hospital all through her pregnancy. She couldn't even resume work after the 1-month leave elapsed, as she sent her resignation letter instead of resuming. The 9 months of pregnancy was very hectic and tiring for the young couple that they even forgot all about the joy of becoming parents. The pressure was more on Umo, who had to still go out to oversee his business and then rush home to take care of his sick pregnant wife. Eno was not even interested in anything at the moment, as she only wanted to get done with the pregnancy and get herself back. Hence, she did not notice the slight change in Umo. Umo was starting to dread coming back home because he knew what awaited him, and so he would always go to a bar to take one bottle or two before returning home. He felt it would make him forget about the problem and relieve him of stress, even if it was just temporary. But from going to take only one bottle, Umo soon graduated into longing for the comfort and bosom of another woman. Fortunately for him, he did not have to yearn for long, as those kind of women were always available, waiting to be beckoned on. The first time Umo took a woman from the bar to a hotel, he felt guilty and beat himself up for betraying Eno. Although he couldn't deny the relief and newness the experience offered him. As such, even though he knew it wasn't right, he continued to go back to those commercial women. Eno was already heavily pregnant at this time and was starting to get a little relief from the pregnancy symptoms. As such, she started to notice the change in Umo, but she just gave the excuse of him being stressed from work at the shop and at home. However, the change was getting obvious by the day, as she knew Umo very well enough to be able to notice when he had deviated from his normal self. Eno was worried about it, and she tried to ask him what the problem was, but Umo assured her that he was okay and it was just stress, which he would soon get over with. Eno believed him and didn't take it to heart until one day when she went to the mall to pick up some baby essentials in preparation for her delivery. As she was reading the labels on the different brands of baby oil, she overheard two young wild ladies who were talking about a certain customer of theirs who was always coming to patronize them. From what Eno heard, all the girls at the bar wanted to get picked by him, as he was very generous with paying them compared to other men. From the description, this said man owned a very big electronic shop and his business was doing well. Eno heard all that, but didn't think much of it. She wanted to leave that section of the mall to another section when she heard something that hit her hard. The wife of that man is very careless because tell me why you would be at home and your so-called husband sleeps with other women every day without you doing anything about it, one of the ladies said. The other lady then scoffed and replied her, "Don't mind all those married women. They think that once they are married, they have achieved everything. Since she doesn't know how to keep her husband at home, we will continue to help her. My own is to get my own soft cash. You know now." The two ladies laughed and then walked away. Eno heard this, and for some reason, she wasn't herself. She felt like she was the one who was being talked about. She tried to put herself and her actions through some accountability tests. Have I been a bad wife? Did I neglect my husband? No now. I've been trying my best. It's just because of this pregnancy that affected me. And Umo understands too. He won't do such a thing. I trust him. He also knows that I have been a very good wife to him. He understands that it's my pregnancy that is taking a toll on me. No, I am very sure they were talking about another man, not my husband. With that, Eno was relieved and she continued her shopping. However, when she got home, the words of the ladies at the mall continued to ring in her head. She began to reanalyze it, and then when she waited till 8 p.m. and Umo had still not returned, she became scared. She feared that Umo might be the revered customer of these ladies, and she prayed in her heart for it not to be true. Umo finally came back by 9 p.m. and Eno went to meet him at the door. "My husband, is everything okay? You returned home late. What happened?" Umo was surprised at her questions, but he composed himself and told her that he had a late order at the shop, and that was why he stayed till that time. Eno nodded her head, but the burden in her heart was still heavy. She offered him dinner, and after eating, she raised up a discussion. "I don't know, but I feel like something is not right. I feel like our marriage is not what it used to be before. Is there anything you would like to tell me? Even if it is a bad thing, I don't mind. I'll forgive you. I just want us to be honest with each other." Uma was shocked and confused. What does she mean? Is she suspecting anything? Anyway, he would never admit to anything. Eno, I'm confused. What do you mean? To the best of my knowledge, we don't have any issue apart from the pregnancy that has been stressful to both of us. Eno sighed and told him, "I'm not talking about the pregnancy. I don't even know how to put this, but I need to let it out. I overheard some people talking about this man who is cheating on his wife, and sincerely, from the details they gave, you fitted perfectly in that description. I don't want to believe outsiders, but I need to be sure, and that is why I am asking you. Are you cheating on me, Umo?" Eno asked, her eyes filled with sadness. Umo froze in shock. He had been very careful. How did she find out? "My love, how can you think of me like that? Have I ever done anything to put any doubts in your mind? You are the only one I love, and I can't do anything to hurt you. Please don't listen to gossip. The people might have been talking about someone else, and because you were eavesdropping, you thought it was about your husband. I can't do that to you. You need to trust me." Eno looked at him in the face and said, "I trust you, Umo. I trusted you in the past, and now I still trust you. I just don't want what my father said about you to be true. That's why I'm bothered. But since you have reassured me, I will believe you." Umo smiled and then hugged her. Eno concentrated on her pregnancy, and weeks later, she gave birth to a baby girl. Umo was overjoyed to finally become a father, and he thought that the arrival of the baby would change a lot and distract him from going outside again. But unknown to him, he had tasted the forbidden fruits and was hooked. Shortly after Eno put to bed, he started to go out but was more careful this time around so that Eno would not suspect a thing. His electronic shop was still doing very well, and life continued to improve for them. As a result, Umo told Eno that he did not want her to work again. "You have really tried for me. You deserve to relax and let me take care of you. I don't want you to work again. Taking care of our daughter is not easy, and it will be selfish of me to watch you go out to work when I can take care of you and our daughter." Eno was touched at his sensitivity. She saw reason with him and accepted to stay at home to look after their daughter. She believed Umo was being caring and thoughtful, but unknown to her, Umo was just trying to tie her down at home so that she doesn't go out and pose a threat to his escapades. Umo had recently employed a female salesperson at the shop. This lady name was Annie, and she was an attractive lady who was ready to do anything to survive. She took the sales job to live by just for the meantime until she sees a better job. However, it did not take long after she started working for Umo before she noticed his interest in her. That day, she had worn a very tight, attractive gown to work because she wanted to go to a birthday party immediately after work that evening. Unknown to her that her boss would be enchanted, Umo saw Annie that morning and couldn't hide the loss in his eyes. Annie was shocked to notice this, but she pretended to not know anything about it. Being a hustler, she didn't mind adding side chick to her job description, but she did not just want to be used and dumped. She wanted to dig a firm foundation so that she would last in the role of being the side chick. That evening, when she got home, she thought of what to do to make her boss chase after her hopelessly. She knew he was married, but hey, she did not care. She had to survive whichever way. Suddenly, the perfect idea struck her. She would make Umo hunger and taste after her. She would leave him drooling for a bite, and she wouldn't give in easily until she was sure he was terribly famished. And so, from that day, Annie would always dress in a hot attire. She went to the market and specially chose those type of outfits that were designed from the pit of hell. The type of outfits that could make any man fall, no matter how strong he believed he stood. Uma noticed that Annie was becoming more and more attractive by the day. He started to see different sides to her that he never knew existed before, and each side left him hungry and thirsty. He would do anything to quench this thirst of his. Annie was pleased that her fish had taken the bait, and she intensified her pressure. She would intentionally appear before Umo and give him a glimpse of the meal she was preparing for him. Umo could not bear it anymore, and that day, he called her into his office and tried to have his way with her. But Annie was smarter than that, and she stopped him. She was going to play the game according to her rules. Uma was surprised and asked her why she was hesitating. "Is this not what you have always wanted?" he asked her. Annie smiled innocently. "I don't know what you mean, sir. I'm just doing my job, and this is not part of my job description." Uma understood where she was going and then told her, "But this job would be more lucrative than the other one, and we will both benefit greatly. Let's strike a new deal. I want to give you this role." Annie smiled, knowing that she was finally in control of the terms. She then told Umo that she would think about it, but he needed to prove that he would be a worthy lord. Umo saw it as a challenge and was glad to prove himself. They soon kicked off a secret romantic relationship, and Annie had Umo right where she wanted him. She was going to keep him for a very long time, maybe until a husband comes her way. But if not, she wouldn't mind making him her own husband. Eno continued to stay at home to look after her daughter, unaware of her husband's newfound side chick. She decided to pay him a visit at the shop one day, and when she arrived, she saw Annie and the other sales boy. Eno scrutinized Annie and felt something strange about her. As she went in, Annie heaved a sigh of relief and was glad that the gown she wore that day was even decent a little bit from the ones she usually wore. Eno went in and saw Umo, who was surprised to see her. She told him that she wasn't comfortable with the sales girl and that her dress was inappropriate too. But Umo shoved it aside, saying that he hadn't even noticed. He believed they were all adults, and so they knew the right thing to do. But Eno insisted and went to meet Annie. She warned her not to dress that way again to the shop if she wanted to still keep her job. Annie nodded with an innocent face, but deep down, she knew that she would make Umo pay for not training his wife. As soon as Eno went back home with her daughter, Annie went to Umo's office to complain about the embarrassment his wife gave her. Umo tried to apologize, but Annie gave him a punishment and told him not to come to her house for 1 week. Umo couldn't bear staying away from Annie for 1 week, and so he thought of what to do to appease her quickly. He believed that going on a vacation with her will make her forgive him, and so he He planned for a 1-week vacation in a different state. When Annie got the update, she smiled complacently, knowing that she was indeed in charge. Eno, you are just living in a fool's paradise, and if you're not careful, I, Annie Fok, will make you lose everything, Annie said with a wicked smile on her lips. Umo came up with an excuse of going to a business trip in another state, and that was how he and Annie went away for 1 week. Annie made sure that he did not speak with his wife, and the only time Umo had to call Eno was when Annie was sleeping. He always gave her the excuse of being busy with the business partners. He returned home after a week very happy, and Eno did not suspect anything. However, Eno started to suspect again that Umo was cheating on her. But this time, she did not confront him because she knew that he would deny it just like before. She was going to be discreet this time around and catch him by herself. And so, Eno started to monitor Umo. She noticed that he was always sneaky with his phone, and even when he was sleeping, his phone would be under his pillow. She then decided to trail him one day and save herself the suspense. That Sunday afternoon, Umo said he was going to an event of one of his customers. Immediately he left the house. Eno took her daughter, who was 1 year old by now, to her neighbor's place and quickly took a cab to trail after Umo. Umo went to Annie's house, and as soon as Eno saw Annie come out to enter Umo's car, her heart broke, but she quickly controlled herself and decided to not conclude yet. Who knows, she was just accompanying him to their customer's event. Eno followed them until they got to a hotel, and she came down from the cab and tiptoed into the hotel. She saw the both of them go into a room. Eno stood there shocked and confused, not knowing what to do. As she was contemplating barging into the room to catch them red-handed or waiting outside for them, she saw them coming out to the lounge. Umo was holding Annie indiscriminately, and Annie was acting like a goddess. It was so obvious that they had been into this for long. Eno could no longer control herself, and she rushed up to them. Umo, is this the event you wanted to attend? And you? Are you not Annie, his sales girl? So you have been the third wheel all along. How dare you? Eno tried to slap Annie, but luckily for Umo, he stopped her. He knew that if Eno does anything to Annie, he would pay for it double. So he had to send Eno off. Eno, are you out of your mind? Who asked you to come here? Since your curiosity has led you here, then you will have to bear the burden of it alone. But I must warn you, stay away from Annie. She has not done anything to you. And in fact, you should be thanking her for helping you out. She has been making me happy, such that I don't even need to complain to you about anything. If you know you still want this marriage, mind your business. I will continue to provide for you and our daughter. But you need to accept this as the reality now. All the while Umo was talking, Annie was sitting behind him, looking like a saint who was being maltreated. She was pleased at the way Umo handled the whole situation, and immediately she held him by the hand and took him inside to reward him. Eno stood in shock and pain as she watched her husband being led away like a dog by another woman, and the remaining part of her heart shattered into tiny pieces. Eno went back home, carried her daughter and locked herself in. She cried until she didn't know how to cry again. She couldn't believe that the same man she had sacrificed her life for would stab her in the back like this. So all the promises he made to her were just mere words. Eno was not ready to give up, however, and she waited for Umo to return so that they would settle the issue. She was not going to allow all her sacrifices go to waste like that. How could a little girl come out from nowhere and steal what belongs to her? No, she would never allow that. Eno waited for Umo all through the night, but he did not return. She waited the next day, which was Monday, but he still did not return. On Tuesday morning, she decided to go to the shop to look for him. But when she got there, the sales boy told her that he was not around. She asked about Annie, but she too was not around. Understanding what was playing out, Eno left. The sales boy shook his head pitifully at Eno as she left, feeling sorry for her. He was aware of the affair between his boss and Annie, but it was none of his concern. Uma finally returned home after 4 days and acted as if everything was okay. Eno tried to raise the conversation and remind him of their journey, but he was unapologetic and uninterested in it. He just warned her to respect herself and stay within limits if she still wanted the marriage. It was at that point that Eno knew that she had lost Umo. It hurts to accept, but that was her reality. She continued to try to talk to Umo, but Umo was lost. He was no longer even secretive about it, and Annie now boldly went around town, flaunting herself as the proud side chick of Umo, the wealthy businessman. Anna continued to endure this, hoping that one day Umo would come back to his right senses. She had even tried to reason with Annie, begging her to leave her husband alone. But Annie gave her the middle finger and told her to remain at home as her tenure was over. It's been 4 years, and Eno, seeing that Umo and Annie would never repent until they eventually killed her, decided to do something drastic. Since she couldn't have Umo, no one would have him. She would hit him hard where he least expects it, and not even his side chick Annie would be left out. She would pay for all the years of humiliation, heartbreak, loneliness and mockery. Umo and Annie, I am coming for you both. Eno devised a plan. She studied their movements and knew the places they usually visited. Eno then disguised herself and met with one of the housekeepers at the hotel Umo and Annie usually lodged at. She offered a handsome pay that was very impossible to resist, and the deal was set. One evening, Umo and Annie visited the hotel as usual, and they ordered for drinks. The drinks were served, and they both started to drink to relax ahead of the night. Few minutes into the drink, Umo started to feel a tightening in his chest and intestines. He asked Annie for water, and she brought it for him. But still, the tightening wouldn't stop. Umo then started to cough, and much to Annie's shock, blood followed. What's wrong? Are you okay? Annie asked frantically. Umo's breathing became weak, and he struggled to speak. My chest. What did you do? Did you put anything in the drink? He asked, his eyes widening in fear. Annie was shocked and confused, but before she could do anything, Umo collapsed. Annie was terrified and immediately shouted for help. But by the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. Umo was pronounced dead on the scene. The news of Umo's death spread quickly, and Annie was immediately arrested as the primary suspect. The authorities found her with Umo, and given their relationship, she was charged with murder. I didn't kill him. I swear I didn't do it. Annie pleaded, tears streaming down her face as she was led away in handcuffs. But the evidence was clearly against her. Eno's plan had worked. Annie was the scapegoat. Her affair with Umo was now a public scandal, one that would teach other side chicks a bitter, dreadful lesson. At Umo's funeral, Eno's heart was heavy with a mix of grief and satisfaction. She mourned the loss of the man she had once loved, a man who had betrayed her and their family. Her plan had succeeded, but it left her feeling empty. But she was sure of one thing. She was not going to be hurt again. It is all ended. She made sure that Annie was given the right sentence for murder. And when she went to visit her at the prison, Annie was in a pitiful state. She begged Eno to help her, claiming to know nothing about Umo's death. But Eno scoffed and said to her, you can now beg because you were caught. For years, I begged you to leave him, but you mocked me and rubbed the evil in my face. Maybe this is Karma's way of teaching you a lesson. Next time, in your next life, when you see a married man, you will never go close to him. I guess it's my turn to give you the middle finger, Eno said and walked away. Annie cried and cried, filled with regret for all her actions. Only now did she feel the pain Eno must have felt for all those years. But now, it was late, and she would face the consequences of killing Umo, even when she didn't. Eno sat alone in her home, reflecting on the paths her life had taken. Her father's warning echoed in her mind. Poverty will humble a man, but his true colors show when he gains wealth. The realization that her father had been right weighed heavily on her. She wished she had listened to her father, yet she also knew that her love for Umo had been genuine. It was Umo who had changed, not her feelings for him. After mourning Umo for months, Eno decided it was time to move forward, leaving behind the pain and betrayal. She needed to start afresh, away from the memories and heartbreak. But first, she needed to return home to her father. And like the biblical prodigal son, Eno took her daughter and returned home to her parents. Her parents were filled with mixed feelings seeing her. Even though they had sent her away for disobeying them, they still missed her. Eno fell on her knees, asking for forgiveness, and she told them all that Eno did to her and how he eventually died in his side chick's hands. Her parents were really sorry for her. They knew that the poor vulcanizer was not to be trusted in that manner. But their daughter had been naive. They forgave her and were glad, however, that the union produced a child. They carried their granddaughter and showered her with love and kisses. Eno sold the electronic shop she had set up for Umo and used the proceeds to relocate to a different town, far away from Ikot and the painful memories it held. With the support of her parents, Eno found a job and raised her child, giving her all the parental care she could afford. Her daughter was aware of her father's demise, as Eno had explained to her that he passed on through an accident. Thank you for watching this story. Have you witnessed a scenario like this before? What did the wife do? And what became the fate of the unrepentant husband and the side chick? Do you think Eno was right in her revenge? What would you have suggested she did instead after sacrificing her life for Umo? I'll be in the comment section reading all your comments and opinions.